Welcome back. I'm excited for today's show. We've got some good things lined up. We're going to talk about the Idaho legislature, some of the bills that are going on. This is going to be fun. If you don't know where to go, this is the place right here. Legislature.idaho.gov. You can look at all of the House bills and all of the Senate bills. Now this is neat because you can see all of the things our legislature is working on. Now I don't know if it's working here. Give me just a second. Make sure this is connected. There we go. All right. I think we're back. Okay. Yep, we're back. Okay, you can see what I see now. All right, we're looking at some of these, and I just this first one, mask and disguise prohibited. That's H 489. I had to look into that one before we started. I thought that was interesting. Let's see here. Add to existing law to prohibit the use of a mask or disguise during a criminal offense, and to provide for a sentencing enhancement. Now, my first thoughts on that on this bill was, that sounds great. Throw on more added penalty if you're using a mask while in the performance of a crime. But the more I think about it, it's actually quite funny. Making the crime a crime is not enough. Now we are micromanaging how you perform your crime, and we're trying to de-incentivize the use of the type of headwear you have when you perform a crime. Matter of fact, I don't know anybody out there that plans a crime and says, "I would like for people to know who did it." Gone are the days of John Dillinger, when you could just say that it was you, and then rely on the fact that the cops couldn't prove it. Now we're micromanaging criminals through our legislature. It's actually quite funny. I actually, at first, I didn't know what was so controversial. I had to search. And ACLU of Idaho was the first search. Of course they are. And this is what they say. The bill proposes a new crime of wearing a mask while committing or attempting to commit a crime. It's a crime to wear a mask while committing a crime. I can't believe that's actually coming out of my mouth. It's so funny. It's a crime to perform. Now you could say this is like, robbery, but they enhance it because you used a deadly weapon. But this is what you wear. I guarantee you, if I plan on committing a crime, I will seriously consider to wear a mask or a hood. Why? Because if I can reduce the chance that you link that crime to me, well then if you can't find out who did it, how are you going to enhance that crime? It's kind of funny. I just get a kick out of this one. This is taking up legislative time and effort. I also get a kick out of this. If you read this sentence 2 or 3 times, you'll realize they need some grammatic help over the ACLU of Idaho. But that's not what the show's about today. Let's dive into some more of these things. Let's see what we've got here. We're just going to see what catches our eye here. We'll see what jumps out at us. See, reckless driving, mental health, first aid. Now that one, I believe that adds. So the current law is you're immune from you're immune from damages if you're a first aid responder, which is a good thing. You don't want to set people up who are good Samaritans trying to help people in emergencies. You don't want to set them up for a bunch of claims and damages. That would incentivize people to not help others This would add emergency mental health first aid to that. So I don't know how that would work, and I don't know the exact situations being presented. But if you're a first responder in a mental health situation, you administer first aid, you're going to be immune from damages for that. Let's see here. Background checks, health and welfare. Let's dive into that. H494 amends, repeals, and adds to existing law to establish provisions regarding background checks conducted by the Department of Health and Welfare. Interesting. Now, if you want to read the actual bill, you click on bill text. If you want to just see the summary, click on statement of purpose. Bill to brought to satisfy FBI. Continue to conduct background checks with the FBI. Interesting. So it would be linking Department of Health and Welfare with the FBI. And it's going to be clarifying some of the provisions, which is a good thing, if that's becoming a problem. Let's see here. I'm sure there's some real interesting ones here. Electric assisted bicycles, H500. Let's see what our legislatures are spending time on with electric assisted bicycles. Requires motor vehicle drivers to exercise due care to avoid colliding with bicyclists. So, that's the existing code. A recent court ruling found that drivers do not have a duty to avoid colliding with operators of electric-assisted bicycles. This legislation would clarify that they do. Wow! So a court ruling found that people operating a motor vehicle, they do not have a responsibility to avoid colliding with people on electric-assisted bicycles. Now, if you're pedaling, you do have that. You have to have due care. But if it's an electric bike, be as reckless as you want. I would like to know which court did that. That is comical. Folks, this is the funny thing. You need to dive into what your legislature is working on. If there's anything that indicates the state of the world we live in, how ridiculous it is, our courts will come out with rulings just like this. And then to fix it, we have to go through a legislative process. There's no common sense being applied to these situations. Yeah. Additionally, proposed changes to the code would make clear that operators of electric-assisted bicycles must also follow traffic laws, and that they have the same duties that motor vehicle operators have. So yeah, if you're on a bicycle, you can't be careless either. There's not a lot you can run over that you're going to hurt more than get hurt. But when you're on a bike, but yeah, that's the silliness. We have to encode these things into our legislative law. It is ridiculous. Yeah. See, this is the stuff that we don't really pay attention to, but it's what we're paying our legislators to do, and they are wasting so much effort every year on such silliness. But hey, that's democracy. That's a democratic republic for you. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Forest Products Commission. Let's see. Bulk lottery ticket purchases. We can guess what that is already. Some kind of thing preventing bulk lottery ticket purchases, and I bet it's under the guise of fairness and equity for our gambling, our state-sponsored gambling. Let's see here. Sales tax rebate, surveyor licensing. That's interesting. See, I'm not going to jump into everything. Some of the stuff it's going to come up. I'm sure throughout the legislative session, things are going to become controversial. You're going to see it in the news. A lot of these things are still sitting in committee. Matter of fact, the only thing that's been enacted is Internal Revenue Code conformity. That's just aligning the state tax code with the federal tax code. Makes it a lot easier on everybody doing taxes, makes it way, way less complicated for our businesses who have to file taxes and reconcile all of their revenue. Makes it so you're not keeping two sets of books, one for the federal government and one for the state government. You just keep one, and we work with the federal government. It's a good thing. Let's see here. Execution procedures. H525. Let's see what this is. I haven't looked into a lot of these. Let's see. Amends existing law to provide that procedures used in an execution shall not be subject to rulemaking, judicial review, or certain other provisions. That's strange. Yeah, let's see what it says here. Extend legal protections from discovery or disclosure of certain persons and entities to carry out the death penalty by lethal injection to certain persons and entities. Oh, okay, so it's expanding the protections that we've had on lethal injection to those who participate in the firing squad. Firing squad will be the primary method of execution beginning July 1st, 2026. Wow, that's significant. I think that will, not that Idaho has a lot of people sitting on death row, but that will be more efficient. Let's see here. Cottage food operations. Let's see what that one is. TCS Foods. What is TCS Foods? So a lot of the stuff I got to educate myself on as I go through it. Removes barriers for entrepreneurs starting food business. That's good news. The requirements for a new business to sell any time temperature controlled foods are burdensome. This legislation allows small sellers under $5,000 to be able to get a start, and we got to fix our education system. Whoever writes these sentences needs remedial training. To be able to get a start in selling these types of foods. Jeff Ellers. Come on, man. Well, that didn't tell us a whole lot. That's going to be interesting. Let's see. Let's jump down here. Vehicle registration stickers. Let's see what's going on with that. Let's see what sneaky stuff they're putting in here. Amends and adds to existing law to provide for the elimination of vehicle registration stickers. That's interesting. No more stickers. Statement and purpose. Purpose of this legislation is to remove the requirement that vehicles display a reg sticker when registration is required. It clarifies that a valid license plate and vehicle registration are sufficient for a vehicle to be lawfully operated on Idaho roadways. Should cost or have a savings of approximately $300,000 to the department through the elimination of materials and production costs associated with registration stickers. That's good. This is something I don't know. See, as I'm just trying to put my different thinking caps on here. I think this is a fantastic thing. It's saving money. It's reducing budget. Now, $300,000 is a drop in the bucket, but hey, it's a start. Let's take everything we can. We don't have to do stickers. You keep your license plate current, and you keep it registered. You still got to do registration, but a plate alone is sufficient. No more reg stickers. I think that's great. I think it's going to align with the technology coming out. Where we're pretty much headed for a database, a centralized database of all info, whether states do it or the federal government does it first. I think this is it's probably gonna be a little bit less easy for a policeman to pull you over for inactive registration, but hey, I'm not too concerned about that right now. I've never been the best on keeping my tags up to date, and I'll stop talking right there. Let's see here. Parent-student drivers training. See that some of these things, as I read through these, do we need laws for some of these things? Amends existing law to revise provisions regarding the parent-student on-road drivers training program. What are they changing? Currently, parents in Idaho can only teach their children to drive and obtain driver's license in a rural school district or in urban districts that do not offer driver's training course. This legislation simply allows parents statewide to teach their children to drive. That makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. See, some of these things, it's changing a law I didn't even know existed. Changing a law that I bet a lot of parents out there also don't know exists, and they probably ignore if they do know it exists. Because I certainly would ignore that law. Let's see here. Let's, if you're watching this and if you get the time, go through this list. I would love to chat with some of you and maybe have you on the show if you find any of these that you got a problem with. Some of these things are positive, but some of these things need to stop. Let's see here. Property tax assessment. That's going to transcend all barriers here. Amends existing law to revise a provision. Man, they get wordy on these things. Regarding the assessment of certain property. That tells us nothing. Let's see what the clarification and correction for calculating taxable values of fire protection districts and ambulance service districts not subject to urban renewal. Wow. I would have to dive into that, the bill text to even see why that's relevant, but you know what? We'll do that later. I'm not going to try to put you to sleep today. Let's see here. Flags, government entities. Let's see what that one is. Maybe that fixes or reinforces the flag laws. Let's see. Amends existing to revise and remove provisions regarding flags flown by a government entity to provide a penalty and establish provisions regarding enforcement by the Attorney General. Coming after the mayor of Boise with this one. Let's see. This legislation amends Idaho Code to revise provisions regarding flags flown by government entities and establish provisions regarding enforcement by the AG. Failure of a government entity to comply, Boise mayor, will be subject to civil penalty of $2,000 per flag each day that it is displayed. The Attorney General will have the duty to enforce this penalty against a government entity. If there's a failure to comply, the Attorney General has the authority to file a civil action in district court. Well, that's neat. Yeah. If you never saw it in the news, the mayor of Boise was flying. What was it? Was it the pride flag? I'd have to look that one up. Yep. Let's see here. CPA's code cleanup. Let's see. Reckless driving, disturbing the peace. Religious disturbing the peace. Let's see what that one is. Men's. We got to dive into this one. Clarifies. Disturbing the peace includes persons who maliciously and willfully disturb any assemblage of people gathered for religious worship. Disturbing the peace is classified as a misdemeanor. So if you maliciously and willfully disturb any assemblage of people gathered for religious worship. Now the problem with that is just about anything can be deemed religious anymore. Yeah, we're going to see more laws come out surrounding this issue as time goes on. Yep, religious worship is a pretty loose definition. All right, let's see. I think we're coming up on the end. This is crazy. You know that we've been in session for 4 weeks, going on 5 weeks. We got 489, and then all the way down here, we're all the way down to 671. That's how many laws they're coming out with. It is wild. Yep. Let's see here. Now, we're not going to get through everything all today. Let's jump into some of the Senate stuff. Senate bills. Slow-moving vehicles. What is the Senate working on and taking time about slow-moving vehicles? Let's see. Clarifies operators of slow-moving vehicles, construction equipment, and farm equipment need to turn off the road only when a safe or size-appropriate exit location becomes available. That, you know, some of these things, I think I'm just completely ignorant to the issues of the people in my state. I am just unaware of any concerns of slow-moving vehicles. If you're a slow-moving vehicle person who's been harassed and needs this law, I'd like you to comment below and let me know. This is, majority of the state is very rural. I don't understand how that would be, how that's even necessary. Let's see, artificial intelligence education. Let's see, on this next one, sexual orientation, gender identity. Let's see what that one is. That's going to be a hot topic. Amends existing law to provide that freedom from discrimination because of sexual orientation or gender identity is a civil right. Interesting. Adds the words sexual orientation and gender identity to the Idaho Human Rights Act, provides definitions, and amends the stated purpose of the act consistent with the legislature's other amendments. Interesting. So they're just adding a couple things to the Civil Rights Act. Now that could have a couple implications, because depending on how you're thinking about that, they're clarifying and adding that to the Idaho Human Rights Act, which some of you out there may not like that. But on the other hand, it could also just knock the feet out of special protections for those classifications. If you put it in with all the other things that are protected with the Human Rights Act, then it's equal protection rather than special protection, and that may be the intent of this. If you got other thoughts, let me know in the comments below. Let's see, criminal notoriety. Criminal notoriety. Let's see what that one is. Oh, this one's been amended and all sorts of things. Modernizes Idaho law to ensure criminals do not profit from the publicity of their crimes. Well, you know, if you don't want them to profit from publicity, maybe let them wear a mask. You know, if you don't want them to be famous, or, you know, let them cover up and hide their face. Otherwise, you know, it's kind of funny. Establishes a limited escrow process for proceeds derived from criminal notoriety. How do you even do that? Are they going after criminal YouTubers or something like that? Again, gone are the days of John Dillinger. I don't know why. I don't know why this is. You know, unless notoriety has such a loose term that it's allowing for seizure of assets, if they deem someone of a specific notoriety. Maybe this is a money grab. Let's see. Let's get down here a little bit more. We're 25 minutes in. I really want to see what you guys are interested in with the Idaho legislature. Some of these things don't make any sense, but our state sure spends a lot of time on it. Let's see here. Rats Health and Safety Nuisance S1271. Let's see what this one is. Let's see here. Adding an existing law to declare certain rats public health and safety nuisance and to require abatement. That's fascinating. Do we have a rat problem in Idaho? Oh, invasive Norway and roof rats in Idaho. That is fascinating. So this is allowing the so the legislature is declaring these to be a public nuisance and giving some teeth to the Department of Ag to coordinate extermination and prevention. That's interesting. Wonder. I didn't know we had rodents of unusual size. Let's see. I'm curious. What is a Norway or Norwegian? Forgive my spelling here. There we go. Norwegian rat. Let's see what this is. Norway rat. All right. Size. They are large and robust, measuring 13 to 18 inches. Wow. That is a massive rat. Tail that's shorter than the body. 1.5 feet long in length. Wow. Maybe what we can see in Idaho is the Norwegian rat take out our rock chuck population here in Idaho. That would be fascinating. That is funny. Okay, well, Department of Ag has got its work cut out for itself. Let's see, what else we got here? Local land use starter home subdivisions. Let's see, S1279. Let's see what that one is. Establish provisions regarding starter home subdivisions. With national median age of first-time home buyers having recently reached 40, late bloomers, the need to reduce barriers of entry in the face of increasing cost of living and artificial scarcity is ever more apparent. There's a lot packed into that first sentence. We'll unpack it in a second. This legislation removes red tape discouraging first-time homeownership by establishing small lot starter home subdivision on vacant residential land, removing restrictive covenants and local zoning barriers that prevent compact single-family development. It sets reasonable state standards for lot size, frontage, setbacks, density, while preserving health, safety, environmental, and infrastructure requirements. That's interesting. It's very well-intentioned. It doesn't address, and this is without reading the bill, but it doesn't seem to address the problem that's been created for first-time home buyers. What this will allow, though, is, and I think the intention is to improve supply in the housing market. What's going to happen, though, is you're going to have developers capitalize on this. Because if we're reducing lot size and we're making domiciles smaller, if we're making it smaller, what you're essentially going to see is brand new mobile home style lots or developments. I'm not knocking mobile homes. There's a need there's a need for variety in the market. But you're just gonna, if you're zoned at a 5-to-1, five homes to 1 acre, and this changes it, the developers are gonna see they're gonna see dollar signs on this. If you're building at $200 a square foot, you're gonna see the same thing that happens in the supermarkets. Your price per item. If a bulk item costs $10, and you have a smaller sized item, if it's half sized, it doesn't cost $5 because it's half the price. It costs $6.50 or $7. It's the smaller items are priced more per square foot than your bigger bulk items. We're going to see the same thing. If we're complaining that homes are nobody's building homes down around the 250,000 price point, well, we'll get homes down there, but it's going to be those homes that 6 years ago, 7 years ago, cost 100,000. They'll cost 245, and they're going to be small, and there's going to be a lot of them, and it's going to be because they can. It doesn't address the problem of Idaho's housing crisis. It doesn't address the property inflation. It doesn't address the blatant manipulation and predatory tactics by the developers out there. And that's there's a lot that we can dive into. I'm not saying developers are committing fraud or anything like that. What I'm saying is incentive defines behavior, and there is an incentive for everybody involved with property development. The incentive is aligned to work together to get the maximum price. There's no incentive to provide inexpensive housing. There's just none. And this is an attempt at that, but it doesn't solve it. Yeah, let me know what you think of that one. Let's see here. Code cleanup in education, infant hearing loss screenings, criminal trespass on churches, resistance by a threatened party. Interesting. There's a lot in here that's it could be interesting. We're going to dive into more. I'm going to do some more reading, and we'll find some of the more interesting ones. Let me know in the comments what you think about the legislative session. We haven't talked at all about the multi-million dollar shortfall in the Idaho budget. What is it? Close to $100 million. I read in the news the other day the legislature did approve a 1% budget reduction, and I believe they're figuring out where that's coming from. But that'll equate to about $100 million being reduced out of our budget. So that's how bloated even our small state of Idaho has become. 1% of our budget equates to $100 million. Yeah, let me know what you think of some of these things. We're going to dive into it. I think we'll probably talk about legislature a lot between now and the end of March and start of April. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Stay safe out there, and yeah, have fun. This is Idaho Rush Report. Have a good day.